Good afternoon, everyone. Guess what? We've made it another week. Isn't God so good and amazing? Twyler Jenkins here, founder and CEO of the I Am That Woman movement. Well, it is July the 24th, 2020, and God has blessed us to see another beautiful day. I've traveled to my hometown of Madison, Indiana, so I'm super excited to be at my sister's blessed house of prayer and just able to see family, spend time with family. I'm taking my mother fishing again. I didn't realize that was her happy place. And my mother's almost 80 years old. And so it's a great social distancing, being outside activity that we can do. And so remember her in your prayers. So many of you know my beautiful mother who came to the first I Am That Woman retreat in Riviera Maya, Mexico in 2018. And so she's doing well. As you know, last year she suffered a couple of strokes. But God has blessed her to come through so many adversities in life. And so just here to spend a little time with her. Well, without further ado, let's talk about today. Let's talk about our conversation. So this entire month of July has been about our mental and emotional wellness. And so today I have a very special guest and dear friend. We haven't connected in a long time. You all know how that is. But I am super excited to have Desiree Clay joining me today. She's an author. She's a phenomenal young woman who's written a book about a story, a true story of trial and triumph. Beautiful like a flower. And so we're going to be talking to her about her trials and triumphs in life and how God blessed her to come through, overcome, and where she is now. But first, as you know, I always share a video. Now, this video is a little long. It's actually 8 minutes, so I might not share the entire thing, but it's really good. And the title of it is Don't Allow Your Life to Be Controlled, kind of like by your past. And so we're going to talk about that today because so many of us had traumas, dramas, challenges, and obstacles as a child just coming into this world. We know that the word tells us that we are born and shaped into, sin and iniquity. And, we strive to come out of that with our relationship with Christ, with our repentance, with our baptism. But sometimes, the odds are against us from the families that we're born into, the experiences that we have as a child. And Desiree is going to be sharing some of that about her life today. But without further ado, I'm going to show this amazing video. Again, I might not show the entire thing because it is 8 minutes, but I think it's going to bless you.
Don't allow yourself to be controlled by these 5 things. Many people spend their life at the mercy of circumstances, living at the mercy of what happens to them, living at the mercy of other people, not living in the present because they are stuck in the prison of their past. If you want to live a great life, don't allow yourself to be controlled by any of these things. Number 1, your past. Number 2, other people's opinions and judgments. Number 3, limited beliefs you project on yourself. Number 4, relationships. And number 5, money. Number 1, don't allow your past to control your present or your future life. Whatever happened, you must let it go. Leave the pain of your past behind so it cannot ruin your future. Leave the darkness of your past behind so it cannot block the light of your bright future. Your past is gone. Whatever happened, whether unjust, cruel, harsh, whatever the case, reliving the events will never do you any good. If someone did you wrong, the only way you can win is if you let go and move on. If you live in hate, they win. If you live in the victim story, they win. If you want to win, you must focus on building your future and start right now. Release that weight from your back so you can be free. Don't allow events from the past which are now gone to ruin this moment, which is perfect. This moment, which is now to enjoy, which is ready for you to live fully. Number 2, don't allow other people's opinions and judgments to control the direction of your life. The need to fit in and feel wanted can cause you to travel down paths you don't want to travel. People pleasing is a curse that should be avoided at all costs. Before you do anything, ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to do it, or because of my fear of judgment from others if I don't? You were born unique for a reason. You were born to stand out, to be appreciated and loved for who you are. Don't dim your light so you fit into the dull background of other people's lives. Shine bright as you are. Those who really care for you will see that light and shine with you. Number 3, don't allow your life to be controlled by your own limited beliefs. Now, a warning with this one. These beliefs may be conscious, but more than likely, they're unconscious. They may be unconscious limitations that have been conditioned in you from a young age and throughout your entire life by listening to those around you who never reach for their own dream. Notice your own limited beliefs and tell them to shut up. There is nothing you cannot do, nothing you cannot have, and no one you cannot become if you believe in yourself. If you believe anything is possible, guess what? Anything is possible. When you change your belief from limited to unlimited, your potential is unlimited. Imagine what you could achieve if you lived your life as though anything is possible, as though miracles are a standard requirement of every day. As the saying goes, when there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm. When you have nothing inside holding you back, there is nothing outside that can hold you back either. Your entire life will change the very instant you decide to change your mindset. The instant you decide to see everything as a gift. When you decide to see every circumstance and challenge as a blessing rather than a curse, the very instant you become conscious to the fact that everything in it is as it should be, and know that fighting what is insane. Number 4, relationships, a touchy subject. But if you are always needing another to be happy, to feel complete, then you are always one moment away from a breakdown if that person leaves you, or unhappiness if the relationship you are in is not going well. I'm not suggesting to avoid relationships. There is no force on earth that is greater than love and connection. I am talking about those who can't live if they aren't in a relationship. Those who will be with just about anyone, including all the wrong ones, just to avoid spending a moment being single. What I am saying is to develop enough mental strength that you get to the point where you don't need others to make you happy. You are just as happy being alone as you are in a relationship. And number 5, this is what controls the majority of humans on the planet. Can you guess what it is? Money. This does not mean you shouldn't want abundance. It doesn't mean money is evil. You know as well as I do what great things you can do and how many people you can help with money. What this means is do not allow your decisions to be controlled by money. If you are choosing something only on the factor of how much money is involved, you've just made the wrong decision. What you will find is that when you follow your heart and you lead with your intention to serve others, to give your best to others every single time, when you follow your intuition and truly give your soul, then the money will come. And it will come in far greater amounts than if you simply chase money for the sake of chasing money. So challenge yourself to live the life you want to live, free from being controlled by anything. Find your freedom. Live fully.
Wow. Wasn't that amazing and powerful and encouraging and just awesome? I said I wasn't sure if I was going to show the whole video, but there was no part of that I wanted to stop. That leads right into our conversation with Desiree Clay today. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome the fabulous author, motivational speaker, just phenomenal transformational coach, certified John Maxwell team member, Desiree Clay. How are you, sweetie?
Hey, Twyler, how are you? Better that video. I'm still stuck. Like, I'm over here, like, my mind is racing now. You know, that video was speaking my language. I'm like, yes, mindset, yes.
Yes, that was so powerful. Oh, yes. No. Marva Ruth just said, awesome. That is your mom. That is my girl. She connected us. I don't even know how. God always does it. And I just told her, what I was doing with my Facebook Live, with the ministry, with I Am That Woman movement. And she was like, oh, you should talk to, you. And so we connected instantly. You sent me your amazing book. I read it, and I'm super excited about it. So the first thing I want you to do is to tell us a little bit about yourself, Desiree.
This is always the hard part for me, Twyla, and I have to be honest because I'm not the person that talks about myself, so I'm getting good at it. So, again, I'm Desiree Clay. I'm the Des of Des 360, which is my brand name, but I'm Desiree Clay, and my nickname is Des, so that's where that whole Des 360 came from. I am a Jesus freak. I love the Lord. That's the first thing. Let me tell you, that is my end all be all. And then aside from that, he has blessed me with my amazing husband, DJ Clay, and I am a mother of 4. So I have 3 biological children. Yes. And a bonus son. Yes. I have a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old, which is my bonus son, a 2-year-old, and the baby will be 1 August 8th. Okay. So I've been busy, Twyler.
It's been a little while. We actually worshiped together at Pastor Harris's church some moons ago. And the little ones were not there.
No, it was just Carrington and I. And so, yes, I've grown in that way. And I live outside of Houston now, in the suburbs of Houston. And so God has just been really good. I am a author. I published my first book, Beautiful Like a Flower, a true story of trial and triumph, back in 2015, I want to say 2015 or so. And from then, I decided to, move on. I was an educator for almost 10 years. And God was like, yeah, you're supposed to teach, but you're still not in the right space. You're not in the right space. Okay. And so I always loved teaching. And I still do. And I absolutely love teaching when I get a chance to go back and, interact with kids in that level. But yeah, so I transitioned from there. I quit my job one day. Wow. I just quit. My then fiance was like, I'll take care of you. Now, Twyla, I am a girl from the south side of Chicago. So I was like, at any moment you can uproot yourself and leave me with this baby, honey. No. But God said, trust me, not him, and so I did. I quit my job. I didn't tell anyone. Mama didn't know. No one knew. And I got a call from MC Light's team, and they said, hey, what are you doing every day from 9 to 5? So I was like, what? I told you all I quit my job. And then I had to talk to myself and say, fool, you didn't tell anybody. So no one knew that you quit your job. This is the Holy Spirit. So I am now, I've gone on from being the director of communications is where I started with the company. Hip Hop Sisters Foundation is MC Light's nonprofit, so I oversee the entire organization. I went from director of communication to associate VP. I'm now EVP, And I'm also the executive producer for Dr. Lynn Richardson's Millionaires Roundtable, which is an international syndicated radio show in WVON out of Chicago.
Right.
So that's a little bit about what I do outside of the things that you've already mentioned.
Oh my gosh, what an amazing life. Oh, God has truly blessed you.
Yes,
And
indeed.
wow, you have blossomed like your book says since
I'm
the last
still blossoming. I am not even there yet. I'm like, I cannot wait till I become that perfect flower that everybody wants to pick. You know what I mean?
Oh, girl, your heavenly reward, let me tell you.
Yes.
I want to get right into this book. And so with that, just, talking about the flower, even the title, Beautiful Like a Flower. And each chapter really goes into the process of a flower, how it's planted, how it's nurtured and watered, and the photosynthesis process and the male and female aspects of it. I learned some things about a flower while reading.
I know. Get you a little education. I told you I like to teach.
Right, that's true. You were teaching us quite a few things in this book. I'm gonna encourage y'all, and we're gonna tell you how to get this book. It's a beautiful read and a quick read. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But tell me, what inspired you to take that direction, to create it like, the same as symbolizing it like a flower?
Let me tell you something. I know that people all the time say, "Oh, it was nothing but the Lord," but seriously, because first of all, I never want to put my business out there like that. Let's just be clear. That is not my goal. That was never my angle. Like, I'm going to grow up and tell everyone about everything I've done and all the bad mistakes that I've made.
Wow.
Definitely not, especially because I was essentially living a double life. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So in the book, I talk about that, how I went through this, and all the things that I mentioned in the book, people found out when they read the book.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And so the process came to me. I was actually in college when I first heard God give me the book, the story. And I was like, oh, okay, God, I hear you, but yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that. So he wouldn't let me rest. So I wrote the book, Twyler. I wrote it.
Wow.
I left some things out. You know how we do. We like to tell everybody the highlight reel. You know what I'm saying? We like to give everybody the exactly. Like, everything worked out perfectly. Like, but what happened on your way there? What was the journey? Because you didn't just show up one day. You didn't wake up like this, like Beyonce said.
Right.
So I wrote the book, and I was like, this is it. I'm going to publish this book. Just like you said, God, here you go. And he was like, no, because that's not the stuff you shared is like nothing. Like, that's not what I asked you to do.
Wow.
And so I fought with that thing. Even while I was at Bright Star, I was in the war, kind of like, oh boy, like I knew what he was telling me to do and I wouldn't do it. And so years later, this was been, again, since college, I graduated in 2007 from Grambling. So all that time ago, he dropped it in my spirit again. Write this book. I told you this almost 10 years ago. And I was like, okay, God, here we go again. Let me write the book. I said, I have a better idea. I'm going to go and just find the book I already wrote and I'll publish it. Well, let me tell you, I couldn't even find the transcript. I only allowed 2 people to read the original transcript of that book. I literally found the emails that were sent and said, see attached, let me know what you think. The emails were there, but there were no attachments.
Ooh-wee.
And one of the people you may know, Elder Stefan Henderson.
Wow.
He was one of the people who originally read the book. And I called him like, I know you have it because, I'm sure you kept up with it. It's in the email, please. He was like, it's not there. I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm looking at the email. Let me, maybe if I forwarded it, couldn't find it for anything. And I called my best friend, Legina. And she was like, I don't have, I see the email, but I don't see the attachment. I'm like, check your computer. I'm sure you downloaded it. She's like, it is not on my hard drive.
Wow.
I don't have the book. I'm like, okay. Forced me to start this thing over. But the thing that happened the second time around was, by that time I had gone through so much more. I didn't really know even where to start. So God said, just start at the beginning. I didn't know what to write.
That you did. I mean,
I started at the beginning.
Started at the beginning, almost like from birth. Let me tell you all something. And God always sends me, like you said a few minutes ago, I know if it wasn't but the Lord, but let me tell you, I mean, it's all of our stories. It's that story of obedience, right? So the whole That Woman movement and retreat is truly a story of obedience. But when I started reading the book, and it was this week, and I was taking a lunch break, and I said, you know what? Let me read it every day. I got to finish this book by Friday. And I sat down, and I'm eating lunch, which and I read the first chapter. She's in kindergarten, And I had to take a deep breath when I got to your part in the first chapter about being molested.
Yeah.
And about coming home from having a stomach ache. And I said, oh, she just went in. Like, this book is a powerful, if this is in the first chapter, I can't even begin to imagine what's in the rest of this book.
Yeah.
As a kindergartner, this baby is experiencing child molestation. As you know, Desiree, that is something that is unfortunately so prevalent in our community, and so many children have to experience this and live so much of their life in secret because they don't want to tell anybody.
Yeah.
When God was helping you to write this story and to be truth and to dig deep and to be transparent,
yeah,
how hard was it for you to be in obedience?
I wept. I wept. And then I wept some more. And then I wept some more. And I stopped and I came back and I wept some more. And then that last time I wept, he said, now you're ready. Wow. And it just flowed. I wrote that book in probably a weekend. I was in my sleep. I am not kidding you. I was asleep. And I had moved back to Chicago for about 2 years. Actually, matter of fact, when you and I met, I was there because my mom was going through some things. And so I went back home to be a support. And I was like, I got to go home. And I don't know why God was taking me back home, because I never had intention on coming back to Chicago ever. Right. So I went home in obedience, and I was in my apartment. I was living in Lombard at the time, and I was asleep. And I was having trouble sleeping, like resting. Mm-hmm. And so I would play music to go to sleep. And it just so happened this song by India.Arie came on, and it was called Beautiful or something to that effect. And it literally woke me up out of my sleep. And I'm a dreamer. So I keep a journal by my bed. So I got up and I grabbed my journal and I started writing. And literally God gave me every chapter. I had the full skeleton in the middle of the night. Wow. So then I realized this must be a joke, because I have never in my life even liked science as a subject or content area. I've never even just taught it full on or anything. So I said, you want me to write about something that I don't know and compare it to something that I know, which is myself. And so that would require me to dig in a whole nother level and to make these things. But he said, of course, if you depend on yourself, you won't be able to do this. But I'm the one who's going to write it this time. The first time I asked you to do it, you didn't do it. So now this time it's going to be written. And I literally started writing, and I almost couldn't stop. It was like it was like word vomit, so to speak, but coming through my hand. I couldn't even keep up with the thoughts. And when I got finished, he said, now read it. And I was like, I already know what it says. It's my life. Like, this is the battle, ongoing battle. He's like, read it. But it was then that I realized the book was written, and he told me the book was written to help others, to heal and go through all these different things, right? Because so often there are so many broken girls inside of the bodies of women, right? We're just unhealed. We're broken.
The bodies of women.
Yeah, that was me. I was broken. I had this great face. I was cute. I was making it. You know what I mean? But I was broken. And he said, the first person you have to heal is yourself. You can't do my work. You can't do what I'm calling you to do if you're not whole and ready. So it became a thing of me healing from the book. So through my process, I indirectly became beautiful like a flower.
Wow. Beautiful like a flower.
My journey. Yeah.
So you started there in kindergarten. You had this very unfortunate experience with your mother's boyfriend, who picked you up from school and took you home, didn't understand while you were only 5, 6 years old, certain things didn't understand. Gave you a muffin, you're like, my stomach hurts. Like, why would you give me a muffin, right? Like this sick, right? And that experience and holding that in. But something powerful that you said in the book and in that moment is, while you didn't quite understand what had happened, what you did know was that it was bad and it was sin. And and the smell and the scent of sex and sin. And sometimes when we're young and we go through traumas, our sensory, right?
Absolutely. Kicks in.
Triggers with our sensory kicks in. It may be something that we see or smell, but this occurrence very early on as a kindergartner starts to shape you and mold you to right and wrong. And, you know, it affects your relationships, and it affects your communication with men and what you think about them and things like that.
Absolutely.
Then you go on to elementary school. I mean, truly, God gave you a download of your entire life to share about your relationships, about your family dynamics, and the dysfunction of your sisters and you. So you have this experience as a kindergartner, then you go into elementary school, and after that experience and knowing that first you thought it was just you, and then even early on, kind of looking as you got older and realizing this isn't just me, but you still didn't tell anybody. What made you keep it inside from the Joneses or the family that you had?
Yeah. So for me, so in the book, I know you guys haven't read it, but there's a family that, so I need to clarify something, because I always have to clarify this when I have this conversation. So my mom, whenever I say present day, like 2020, what's today's date? July, whatever today is.
July 24th.
I say mom, I am not referring to my biological mother.
Right.
So I want to clarify that, because I don't ever want lines to get blurred and there be misunderstandings about who did what to whom. Okay. So I want to state that when I say mom, present day 2020, I'm referring to my mother, who is Marva. That was the light that I referred to in my book that came in, into my life and began to water me in whatever chapter that was, that I met in elementary school. Okay. Whenever I don't call my biological mom by her name anymore. We had an estranged relationship for quite some time. As a matter of fact, she bought a copy of my book when I published it. One of the first people, and I hadn't talked to her in years. She bought it, and then she texted me after she read it. It's like, I have some questions. I said, I got some answers. I have been waiting my entire life. I got some answers. And I also have an apology to give out, which she was never expecting. So we had this conversation. I'll never forget. I was in the bed with my husband, and she called, and it was a hard conversation to have. Yeah. But I had it, and I had to forgive her, because what I didn't know then that I know now as a mother, and after being on my own journey, is that people can only give you what they have the capacity to give.
Wow.
She was giving me everything she had within her capacity. And as a kid, it wasn't enough, because guess what? It's never enough for kids anyway.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And so I was comparing my life to that of the Joneses, which you mentioned and alluded to earlier. Mm-hmm. The Joneses seemed to have it all. When I went there, it just seemed right. They had a family, it was a mom and a dad. There were siblings in the house. They all got along. They had their own rooms. They had color-coded towels, and everything was fabulous. They took family trips and vacations. Now, that's not to say that growing up, my life was crazy, but I was never sat down, and to answer your question, I was never told that if you ever feel unsafe, come tell us. If someone ever touches you anywhere, if someone's touching you where your bikini goes or your swimsuit goes, that's a violation of your space. Those conversations didn't happen in my biological family. I think that what we do is I can speak for African American families specifically, is that we assume that our kids will know based upon whatever, and it's a limiting belief. And what happens is we perpetuate all of these traditions and secrets. You know, you grew up in, I'm sure you can attest to saying, you know, what happens in my house stays in my house.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But why? Because if what's happening in your house is out of order, somebody needs to step in and help you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of house I grew up in. And so when I was molested, again, like in the book, I talk about hearing the gravel under the tires. As I'm talking about it, I can still visualize it. Yeah. I think that, God was even then using that as a way to heighten my senses to do the work that I'm supposed to do. Because Twyler, I don't forget anything. I can tell you what you had on, what was in your background, everything, smells, everything I am totally in tune. Wow. And I really have a worldview perspective of things. I don't really get frazzled about a lot anymore. Whereas I used to, because I was constantly at an imbalance. I had too much going on internally. And so I didn't say anything because I just didn't know to. I just didn't know to. Not because my biological mother was a bad parent. She worked several jobs. She did as best that she could do.
Right. Right.
Now, some of the things she did, even looking back, I don't agree with. As a mother, I don't do that to my children. But no parent is perfect, right?
Sure.
However, I never knew that it was okay to say anything.
And one thing that you talk about is the generational curses. And sometimes we will carry things on from one generation to the next generation because we don't learn from that experience. We don't talk about it. You're right. We are a community that does not believe in therapy. We want to just pray about it and don't even pray about it and leave it there. We really could talk about it, right? And so we don't want anybody to know our business. Like you said, what goes on here stays here. Don't. So yes, there's all of that. And then we're growing up. And so you're growing up. So this was elementary school. This was when you were just, coming into the world, really, So then you go through some elementary school experiences and high school experiences, and even with friends and relationships and, trying to, one thing that I admire about you so much that you talk about in this book, which I think was your saving grace, but you can speak to that, is the programs that you were involved in, who you refer to as Marva. I mean, as mom, Marva was from a program, which she was from someone at the school who helped you, because without those experiences and without having someone else to show you something different than what you were going home to, you would have continued that cycle. So help me to understand what was going on in your mind. The video that we watched talked about not allowing the past, not allowing relationships and those experiences to hold you down. But even by the time, if you want to share anything about elementary, you can, but by the time you got into high school, because those teenage years are so formidable in making and shaping us who we are, and the people who come into your life. And thank God that you had someone like a Marva who became that mother figure for you. But what, if you can remember, what was it that was in your mind? Was it because of the Joneses that you were like, you know what, I've seen something different and I want something different?
Yeah. So literally, if something triggered me and it became real, I became real focused. Like there was a focus that I got. And what that focus said to me and what I knew was I wanted better more than I wanted to breathe. And I became relentless. And I knew that the only way I can get out of the environment. So again, just to paint the picture, what you hear about Chicago is absolutely true. That doesn't mean it's happening every day, but the gang violence and things, just like any other metropolis, it's happening. And so that's where I grew up, right off 55th and Garfield, 58th and Walcott, 5804 South Walcott, Chicago, Illinois, 60636. Okay. Before that, I lived on Honorary in a 2-flat apartment. So I grew up inner city. I was always in Inglewood. And so just looking around, it was always like doom and gloom, and but at first I didn't see it like that. It was just, this is my life. But the more I became exposed, and it wasn't just Marva, it was because I met Mom in 7th grade. Before then, I had teachers. There were always teachers and educators and program directors, like you said, that covered me, that God would send, even if it was for a short period of time, to invest in me, to have me stay after school, to help them grade papers so that they can, nurture me a little bit more and pour into me. Teachers who would say, no, this book is way below your level. Now, you can read on this level book, so I'm going to take this and challenge you some more. So there were always, and I mentioned that in the book, how I realized, it's something to this education thing. Education was going to be my way out. So I became hyper-focused on achieving. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with that. And I want all the listeners to hear me very well. When you have dealt with trauma, oftentimes one of the things you want to do is accomplish things. So what you do is you always want to accomplish and get things and get something else. And then you get that and it's not enough. And what you do is you never heal because you're using those things as a mask, so to speak, because you're blocking yourself. So what I started doing was accomplishing. I kept accomplishing, but I was still broken.
Wow.
I was still broke. It didn't matter what I achieved. As a matter of fact, I would be at graduation thinking about the next degree program I was enrolling in. I never sat in the moment. So one of the things that I'm doing as an adult now is literally learning how to sit in moment.
Wow.
And just like, dang, I did that. Like, it's good. You don't have to achieve something else right away. But it was something that I went to because it was the one thing that I could control. And when you have dealt with childhood trauma, you have a fear of control or lack thereof. And so my education was the one thing I knew I controlled. So I got on that bandwagon and I got on that train and I rode it all the way out. That's how I got out. It was through education. And God knew knew that he knew that was what I was focused on. So he always used teachers. That's how mama was able to come in and intercept me so easily.
That's good. That's good. So you said, boy, that was packed. You said so many things there that sometimes when we're dealing with traumas and dramas and challenges and obstacles as a child or as we're going through life, we're always pressing for something next. Because there's a level of fulfillment that we're looking for, right? And so, and if you don't have that spiritual mind, which we're going to get into, because not only did you have, you said, I want a better, more than what I could breathe. Like you just knew that there was something that
it was something else.
Yeah.
It was something else. I didn't know what it was, but it was something better than Association Walcott. I tell you that.
Yeah. You didn't even know what it was, but you knew that it was something. And that's what was giving you your grit, right? That's what was giving you. So
that's funny you say that. I say I have a grit that don't quit. That's one of my sayings.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
I have a grit that don't quit. Let me tell you.
You do. But like you said, and the warning that you warned our audience about and me about is using that to mask what's really going on. Because sometimes we're going through life masking by trying to accomplish, by being in relationships, what that video just said. Sometimes, I can't be alone. That means that I'm not loved. That means that I'm not wanted, so it's relationship after relationship, what you're searching for. And also, so as you're going through these experiences and you're talking about having something inside of you, but where was that spiritual path? Did you have any spiritual upbringing, the church, or
Yeah, of course. That is always lying in the background. So I grew up in a house in the South Side of Chicago. It was my biological mother, my biological grandmother, and then my siblings. So I'm actually the baby of the family. I'm actually the baby girl. So I have 3 elder sisters, and then it's me, and then my grandmother and, my biological mom. And so my grandmother, we went to First Unity Baptist Church on 51st in Indiana, I think it is. Okay. And we went every Sunday. It didn't matter what else you did. You were going to church every Sunday. I don't care what else you did. You're going to church. And even when my biological mom didn't go, my grandma made sure we were in church. And my grandma would shout down at church. I would be so confused, like, oh my God, and everything. Like, what's happening? Like, this thing, I don't want to go back to this church. It's got my granny acting crazy. Like, no. But First Unity Missionary Baptist Church is where I was baptized. And that's where, the church I grew up in. And then once my mom stepped into my life around 7th grade, I started to go to Pleasant Gift Missionary Baptist Church. And then from there, my journey led me to when I was in college at Grambling. I went to, the local church there in Grambling. And then from there, I ended up, when I came back home to Chicago, I was at Bright Star. Okay. And now I'm at Higher Dimension Church here in Houston.
Okay, wonderful. So you had a spiritual, you had the church in your household. So even though you had all of these things going on, the child molestation and, the dysfunction and that type of thing, you still had a foundation of God and prayer.
My grandmother was a praying woman. She's the type of woman that travailed. You see the difference? Like, at the time, I didn't understand what my grandma was doing when she locked herself in the bathroom and we knock and she not respond. And all you hear is her talking to somebody. Who you talking to in this bathroom, Granny, for hour after hour? Like, what is going on in there? What are you doing on your knees and on the floor for that long? What's going on? So that was my grandma. So I saw it. I didn't recognize it then.
Wow. Powerful. Right. So in high school, we go through, some friends, losing some friends, your best friend, turning on you, and then relationships. So we come into, our little womanhood, and, you're a cheerleader, you're popular, going to one of the best high schools in Chicago. And, you have these athletes and these hormones that are going on, and you are in a relationship, your first relationship
with my boo. Yes.
Your boo, and you get pregnant.
I get pregnant, child. It just shut the whole party down. I got pregnant. So this guy was my boo, y'all. Let me tell you, we were dating since 7th grade. He lived the block over from me, and he was the hottest guy around because he had moved in from Cali. So all the girls wanted him. He had a different swag, and I was like, yeah, he wanted me, and I'm like, yeah. So yeah, so now he's a year older or so forth. We are both in the same high school, just so happened. I'm like, okay, he's a wrestler, star wrestler, and I'm like, okay, I'm captain and co-captain of the team at some point. And so yeah, so the pressure was on. And as much as I said no, and I don't even know really why I kept saying no, because everybody was having sex, right? But it just because of my molestation. Of course, then I didn't know, right? But because of my molestation, my perception of it was tainted already. So it wasn't that I was trying to keep myself till I got married. That wasn't my story. Some women, that's their story, and that's commendable. My story was just like, I'm straight because that's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I don't even know how to approach this. Like,
and you hadn't told anybody, and you didn't want to
tell. I hadn't told anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is strange. How do I deal with this?
Yeah.
So eventually, I give in one day, and I'm literally there, not to give too much, but literally in tears.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like let's just, months pass, and I build up the courage because now you got to psych yourself out to do stuff that you shouldn't be doing anyway. Right. And then I found out that I was pregnant. I have an abortion, right? Because that's what you're supposed to do when you get pregnant.
Right. As a teenager.
Clearly. As a teenager, you're supposed to have an abortion.
Yeah.
So clearly, obviously, I had no education about sex education at all. So I pressed the easy button. And so I had an abortion. I didn't even really know how to do it. So I confided in a friend, like, I'm pregnant. And that friend's aunt took me. Crazy, right? This is hood stuff, y'all. This is only happens in the hood. My friend's aunt took me because she was looking out for me. And I think she did have my best interest, but people only do what they're capable of doing. That I always go back to that, because what was her childhood? What was her life like that she thought it was okay to take someone else's child to get an abortion? That's another conversation. But she took me. And I went, and the first day I went in there, Twyler, I went back twice. The first day I went in there, I couldn't do it. I got back there in that room and I literally ran out. I'm like, give me my clothes. I'm good. I'm gonna have to just deal with this. Jesus. And so I went back home that day and I told him, I'm like, I couldn't do it. Here's your money back, because he was paying for it. I'm like, I can't. And he was like, no, what are the other options? I'm like, only way I'm gonna do it, they said I can get put to sleep. So he gave me more money and I went back again. And I was, got the local, anesthesia, whatever, to get put to sleep. And I had the abortion. I had the abortion. And I went right back to my life like I had no clue. Now, I think my eldest sister kind of knew a little bit, because she was like, yeah, what's going on with you? I had to slow down a little bit because I was very nervous and scared. But yeah, I had no sex education. I had no one ever told me you could come and talk to me. So I never talked to anybody.
Right. So now you have two major things that has happened in your life from 5 years old to 15, 16 years old that you are holding inside, that you're not telling anybody. These are major things. And two things that no one's ever talked to you about. No one's ever talked to you, mentored you, shaped you, molded you about the rights and the wrongs of this. Wow, that's great. So, but you still keep going. You still have that. You're still determined to get out of there. You're still getting
get out. Because if I don't get out, I'm going to be like my homegirl who pregnant and kept her baby, and now she's on baby number 2.
Jesus.
Like, I got to get out, because I'm looking at my friends' parents who are on drugs and stuck. Like, I'm like, yeah, it's a dead end. I got to get out of here.
Yeah. So senior year wasn't the easiest. Senior year was not the easiest.
It was not.
By the grace of God, you graduated.
I graduated by the skin of my teeth.
Yeah. But you go on to Grambling. And so you're able to get out and, but a conversation, and I don't want to tell y'all the whole book. I just want y'all to get the book. But
you got to get the book.
Because again, she is literally telling you how a flower is made in this process. So that is the other amazing part about this book. So the challenges sometimes in our communities is parents being transparent about helping their kids get an education when they haven't been educated, right? Especially you're the first one going to college, going to get a secondary a degree, going to get a college degree for the first time.
Yeah.
Taxes, the federal government wants to know, okay, well, how much do your parents make in order for us to be able to tell you how much we can give? That was not an easy ask. That wasn't an easy ask, nor was it a simple yes. It was a flat out no, because when you're not in a home environment that's like, you know what, it wasn't for me, but I want it for you. But when you're in a home environment that's more like, you know what, who do you think you are? Because oftentimes we get pressured within our community, in our homes on, oh, you think you so smart. Oh, you think you can get out of this. This is how it is. This is how it's always going to be, right? And so your biological mother was not supportive in trying to help you get to college.
No, she was not. I asked her for those documents because now mama is trying to help me get in school. She's like, okay, we need your tax documents so we do your financial aid. I'm just doing whatever I'm told because I'm like, okay, this is my way. Like, okay, you've been there, done it. I'm gonna just do whatever you say. As a matter of fact, I didn't even apply to any other schools. I was going to Grambling because that's what my mom said. She went, she was successful. I'm gonna follow success leaves footprints. I'm going where you went. So I go up and I said, hey, I never forget the day. I was sitting outside on the steps. We were all there. My grandma was sitting in her chair. My biological mom was walking up from work. My sisters was out there. My niece was a baby and sitting on my sister's lap. She walked up and I had already talked to my sister about it. She's like, just ask her. She kind of encouraged me, like, you could do it. Just ask her because I want you to go. My sister, who is still probably looking right now, has always been my supporter. Like even when she was my secret supporter, she was always my supporter. So she's like, just ask her. Just ask her. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna ask her. She walks up from work. I stand up and it was, I didn't feel right, but I'm like, I just got to do it. So I was like, hey, so I found out some information about going to college. I need to, do this, that, and the third. This is what I need. I've done this. And so now I just need your tax documents so I can file for financial aid. And financial aid basically they give me money for free so that because we don't really have a lot of money. So they're going to give me all this money so I can go to school and I don't have to take out a lot of loans. So can I have your tax docs? I just need a copy of them. Like I don't need to have them. I just got to have a copy so I can do the paperwork. And she said, no, what I'm going to get out of it? I will never forget that day. That was the first and only day of my life that I ever felt like spitting in someone's face.
Wow.
Let me tell you something. That day, I knew what I was up against. I said, I'm definitely going to college now because it was so much bigger than her. It was like something at the time I wasn't saying the enemy was out to get me, but I knew there was a force I was fighting against. And I was just like, what is the problem? Like I have never seen someone who don't want their child. I said, okay. Well, you don't want to give me your tax papers? There's another route. Why don't you sign over custody to my grandma? And then if you are ward of the state, they still give you money. I'm not signing over no custody to nobody.
And you were almost 18.
I said, I'm almost 18. Well, when you get 18, then you can do it on your own. Ha! I got you. Watch me. Watch me work. Watch me work. So she was like one of the first people I ever had to show better than I can tell. I can show you better than I can tell you.
So I shared that story, that part of the book in that story, because sometimes we literally have to fight those who should be loving us. We literally have to go to blows with those who should be supporting us, loving us, nourishing us, just helping us get to that level of success. And that was not your story, but it's a part of your story that you can still be determined. You can still have grit. You can still have faith and you can still stay in there. And through the grace of God, you were able to get what you needed to get. And it came down to the wire, literally the wire of going on campus, starting classes and just
it was
able to sign up, get registered, get your books, and your mom helping you to navigate people that she knew, relationships and things like that. So you get to college, it's all good. You're out of Chicago.
I did it. I'm free now. I did it, Twyler. That's what I'm thinking. But here's the bad part. I never realized that the whole time I was trying to escape, a part of the person I was trying to escape was myself. Every time I tried to move, I was bringing me with me. So that's what we do. We change relationships. We change jobs. We change families if we can. We change locations geographically. We change everything. Our hair, our bodies, our makeup. We have surgery. We add weave. We put on faces. And guess what? You're still taking you with you. And that's what I found out at Grambling. I met myself.
Wow.
I met myself at Grambling.
So many people move. So many people think it's their physical location that's keeping them, or their environment that's keeping them down or back. Or when you go to that next location, like you said, who did you meet there? You met yourself.
Yourself first.
you still had that grit because I mean you were, knocking it out with 4.0 and going to school and doing that thing.
Yeah.
And it's still not a beautiful flower yet. You have some obstacles, challenges and adversities at school.
Yeah. So I'm there. Life is great. And, change after change after change. And I'm going to fast forward all the way to my junior year because, I was a cheerleader. I had gotten a scholarship for cheer and, life is great. I'm once again in the same situation. So that's how you sometimes know because God will put you in the same situation again. At another level, it's the same thing to see if you do something different. I ain't do nothing different. I did the same thing.
Did the same thing, made the same mistakes. But, hopefully we learn from them. But even from high school to junior year in college, you have you talk about choices. You talk about how God the choice. You had to make the choice whether to obey, to write this very transparent story about your life, or to keep telling God no. To the point where you thought you was going to go back and just dig up what you had already done.
That's what we try to do. We try to give God what we want to give him. Here you go. That should be enough. And he's like, what? You know who I am?
Girl.
You're going to do what I said by choice or by force. It will be done.
It will be done.
It will. And so here we are. It was done.
And it was done. And it is this beautiful flower. So you're right. So junior year in school, pregnant again.
I'm pregnant again, Twyler. But let me tell you something. Oh my gosh. When I got pregnant junior year, I thought my entire life was going to end this time.
Yeah.
Like I thought, what did you just do? This is what you wanted. So I have like that, good girl, bad girl on my shoulder, right? Like that conversation, that internal thing, that ego. In my mind, and it's talking to me, and it's like, oh, do what you did before. That's what the enemy gonna tell you. You already know what to do.
Oh yeah.
But this time, my spirit man had rose up. Like, oh no, we ain't going out like that. So I was at this war, and let me tell you, I ended up faxing home my mom a cute little card because we didn't have like FaceTime and stuff then. So I faxed. She was working from home at the time, and I faxed her a letter. Fold-up card from my Microsoft Office. You can make those the old school cards. You fold them up, and it's always. And I told her I was pregnant, and I thought the world was going to end. And she called me like, "Hey, baby, all right, well, what we gonna do?" By that time, I had already told my daughter's dad that I was pregnant. He was ecstatic. I'm like, but see, here's the thing: his life wouldn't have changed any.
Right.
Man, I'm carrying this child. Right. I just won the title of Miss Senior. I am a cheerleader. I am just about done with school. Literally, I think I had like 2 semesters left or a semester and a half, or 4 years because I was a senior. And my entire life, once again, was changing, and I didn't know how to get out of it. So the revelation that I got this time was the only way to get out is to go through. The reason why you keep cycling over is because you haven't broke the change cycle. There's something called a change cycle that most people aren't aware of. And so oftentimes we get to the same point and we go backwards, repeat it again. So I had to break the change cycle in order to get to the next level where I was supposed to be, regardless of the challenges that I will come, because God will take care of the challenges. I just need to get through the change cycle and see that there is something else on the other side. So one of the things I like to say is you have to push past your quit. You have to, because everything you want is on the other side of your quit. So this time, after I cried and cried and cried, I said, I guess I'm gonna be a mom. It was the hardest thing for me to contact, the university and say I had to step down and relinquish my title with Miss Senior. I had to disappear from cheer. I had just played, AKA I was on the step team. I had to let it all go. But God said what you were gaining was so much more. Like you're giving away the stuff that people can see. What you're gaining is invaluable. And so that's what we do. We oftentimes worry about what everybody else is going to say, because that's all I worried about. I never even thought what gift this was I was going to bring into the world. I thought, what are people going to say?
Was that not the second point that man just made in the video? When we are so worried about what others are going to think of us, that it determines the outcome of the decisions that we make on our lives, right?
If I had been able to grasp that concept way back in high school, elementary school, let me tell you, my life probably would have been a whole lot smoother. But timing is everything. And so it was in that moment that I got it. And that's when I met myself. Because I was up against myself, literally. Because it was like face to face. This is the biggest battle you're going to have is with your own mind. It's the battlefield of the mind. It's the biggest battle you're going to ever have. I can win against you, come back hand in hand. I can train. I can get prepared as much. But when you're battling your mind,
girl, and that's exactly where the devil takes us, right? The devil is like, I had a little something happen right before this interview started. And I was like, you know what? When he steals our joy, because the word tells us that he comes to steal, kill, and destroy, not what, but when he still kills and destroys your joy, your peace of mind, your choices, your obedience. I mean, that is actually his job. It's not material things so much that the devil is coming up against you. It's about the decisions that God is pressing you to make, and he's telling you, oh no, but what is so-and-so gonna think? Oh, but what is your image? I mean, the image that you had on campus and who you were and the relationships that you have built. This was your junior year. You're almost done.
I'm done.
Everybody's looking at you as a leader. And so
I'm a scholar. I'm in all type of honor societies, presidents of clubs, and I'm pregnant. And I'm not married.
Wow. So, but you make the decision.
I make the decision.
You make the decision. And
it's the best decision ever, because Carrington is now 15 years old in driver's ed. And she challenges me every day. It's like me every day up against myself all over again. You know, and I'm like, oh, I've won this battle before. I know what to do.
And then we fast forward and, you know, you get through college and you've become, and I told you, I said, these interviews can last anywhere from 30 minutes to, girl, I said, sometimes I just have to, it's discussion and when it's so good. So, you know, I apologize, you guys, we're going on an hour, but this has, I hope the audience has truly enjoyed what you have shared, because Desiree, it has just been so amazing. Again, you guys, I'm going to put up how to contact her. Beautiful like a flower. This is her contact information. I definitely want you guys to go on, order her book, des360.com. I'm trying to get it in front of the camera there. Contact her, reach out to her. So many comments have been shared about you basically sharing your story. It's so many of our stories. So many of us can relate to this. So many children are going through what you've gone through. And what is important is the spiritual grounding and the level of obedience that we need to have to God, because I know this was not easy. I mean, you are peeling back the layers of the onion. And like you said,
I can't do it anymore. Let me tell you why. Because I have a 15-year-old daughter and I refuse. And so sometimes it's so hard that for people to break through, because it is literally you're breaking cycles and generational curses. And so you're not only fighting up against yourself, you're fighting up against all these years of things that your family, your grandma, your great grandma, you know, all these things they've done. And then here you go, who do you think you are, trying to go to college to get a degree, have a healthy marriage, have a business? Who do you think you are? And so every day it's a battle, but you can't give up in the battle. And the more, when I read my book again, and I just actually republished it and I added some things, the journaling section, that part of it is new. And I gave it a facelift. The original version is still out there floating around somewhere. But you have the new copy in there, because God said dig deeper. So I just went ahead and added those journal components and some questions, some thought-provoking things as I went through my own coaching process. And Beautiful Like a Flower for me now is so much bigger than what it was then, because, you know, when you think about a flower, guys, everybody wants the most beautiful flower. When you go to any, you know, florist or any the grocery store, wherever you are, when you're picking flowers, you don't look for the ones that are, you know, frailing over, the ones that are kind of like drooping, looking sad. Oh, this is dying already. No one wants that. You want the beautiful flower, but no one ever considers what the flower had to go through or grow through in order to bloom as such. And so when you think about your life, guys, it's like, come on, you too are beautiful like a flower. You can do and be everything. You can be the chosen one. You are the chosen one. Before you were formed in your mother's womb, you know, God had a path set before you. And so the moment that you can get real and honest with yourself and reframe your thinking, that's when you start to see yourself blossom and bloom for real. Now, guess what? I might not bloom at the pace that you do, but guess what? I've never seen a flower ask the flower next to it for permission. We are the only being in the world that asks for permission to become and to be and to do. I don't do that anymore. I am who I am. This is my story. You just have to accept it or not. And that's okay too. So that goes back to the video when the guy was saying, you know, wanting to seek out people's approval. The calling is so much greater than that. And so I like to say those who are called to me will come, and those that are supposed to listen will hear. If it ain't for you, scroll.
Well, I'm so glad that you added this piece. So as she was saying, you guys, she added a piece in her book that literally after every chapter, she asks a question, and then it gives you an opportunity to journal, because this is your journal. I mean, this is your life.
Yeah.
And I journal every day because it helps me. It helps us to purge. If you don't journal, I encourage you to. I'm telling you, it will strengthen your mental and emotional well-being. It will help you to realize and cleanse and get through some of these challenges. And I usually respond to comments. Are there any questions of Desiree anybody wants to ask? I have just been flowing in this conversation because it has just been
sorry, guys.
I know, an hour-long conversation. So if there's any questions, you guys, please send them to me now, and we'll certainly try and address those. You have preached today. You have witnessed today. You have testified today.
Yes.
Desiree, this has just been an amazing interview. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your level of obedience. Thank you for your ministry. Thank you for reaching back and helping other girls with what you're doing now, because this isn't just your story. It's so many of our stories, bits and pieces of it. And like you said, we're the only beings that ask permission to become. And why? Why? Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
God has already given you permission. He already told us you're the head and not the tail. He told that you were blessed in the city and in the field. Blessed you're coming and going. He said that you can have abundance. So why do you think you have to wait to get to heaven to get the abundance? I believe my abundance is now. So, it's like, let me tell you, Twyler, let me stop.
I know, right? You're going to have me crying. You're going to have me testifying, girl.
Let me tell you, let me stop.
Oh, my goodness.
My little hand on my knee, look.
That's what obedience does, though. I mean, that is truly what obedience does. When we listen to God, when we hear God, and when we obey God, and when we trust God, no matter how painful, no matter how hard, how challenging, it's so rewarding because, like you said, He already knows. And the word tells us that He has good thoughts and He wants it for us. So thank you so much. All of the comments are good interview, great interview, awesome interview. Thank you.
Yay.
Everybody, I hope you have enjoyed it. Again, that's how to get in touch with you. Des at des360.com, and on social media, you're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Des360. Go to her website. You guys, please support her. We want to support our Black businesses, our entrepreneurs, our women who are out here being courageous and just doing what God wants them to do.
Yes, I have a brand new course too, Twyler. They can check it out on the website. Think Big, Start Small: How to Thrive in Life, Love, and Career. Let's get it, ladies. It's time. Yeah.
I am still doing my programming for our virtual retreat this year, so I definitely will be following up with you. It sounds like I need to have you and MC Light both to come and be a part of the 2020 I Am That Woman virtual retreat. That's going to be October, so I definitely plan to follow up with you. Don't go anywhere. Stay right there. I'm just going to make a couple of announcements. I have so enjoyed you and definitely wish you all the best with the kids, the husband, the family. Keep growing. Keep being that beautiful flower. Let me bless you with just saying, Lord, I thank you for who she is and how she was obedient. I thank you for just shaping and molding her into who she has become through this journey, through her trials and her triumphs. Lord, we thank you for Desiree, and we thank you that you continue to give her the strength, the courage, and the wisdom to be everything that you have ordained this woman of God to be. So with that, I know I'm trying not to. So with that, just hold on with me 1 second while I close out this show, and I'll be right. All right, you guys. I know it's been an hour, but this is so very fair, and I never intend to go too long. So, this was my last few announcements. I'm going to just on my one story. You guys know my prayer call. pray. We know that we definitely